Baton Rouge, Baton Rouge. I'm gonna get me some alligator shoes.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to an interesting episode of Alligator Shoes. We're going to get into it a little bit. I'm your host, Michael Hacken, and I'm here with my good friend, Jenny Peters. Jenny,
Thank
good to
you,
have
Michael, so much. Yes, I'm Jenny Peters, and I've also got a podcast called It Runs Deep. Michael and I have kind of partnered together in this venture in Garden Studio. But today we decided we're going to do, I think, what they call in today's media a crossover event where, you know, we both take advantage of the opportunity to reach the Baton Rouge community. And we decided if we're going to do that, we had to have a super special guest. And I think we have a super special guest today. So.
We really do. So please turn your attention and welcome our good friend Hillar Moore, the District Attorney of Baton Rouge. Hillar, welcome. We're so honored to have you
Glad
here.
to be here. I'm looking forward to it.
Good. Well, thanks so much. You know, I get asked all the time on my show, or people ask me, they said, who would be your dream person in Baton Rouge to have on your podcast? And I honestly say I don't have a list, because what I do in my podcast is I don't care if you're a barista at CC's or a drive-through attendant at Raising Cane's or a CEO or whatever. I want people to talk good about Baton Rouge and have a good experience here. Now, if you push me on it hard enough, I told Julio Malera this when he was on last week. Julio's up there, and Hillar Moore will definitely be top 2 or 3. Yeah. So I am honored to have you here.
Glad to be here.
And as we get started, you know, Jenny and you guys have a long-standing relationship, and we'll kind of get into that a little later. But you and I are new friends, and I'm honored to be that and call you that. But I'd like to know just a little bit, if you can tell the listeners, how did you get to be on this couch? Where are you from, and how did you get to be the Deadgum District Attorney?
Yeah, on the backs of a lot of good people, particularly family and friends, and a lot of luck, and then some hard work and fortune that made it into it. But born and raised in New Orleans, went to Brother Martin High School. My dad was a sergeant major in the Marine Corps, and was landed on Iwo Jima at 19 years old.
Wow.
So you can imagine the family I grew up in. He married my mom, who was Italian. My dad was German Irish, and he met her in a grocery store because after the war he got a job in the grocery business, and she was 4'11" and he was 6'1".
Oh my gosh!
So we've now we have 7 brothers and sisters. So we had a big Catholic family. Eventually went to Brother Martin, and then I really didn't want to go to college, but my friend that was in college was really close with Governor Edwin Edwards, and said, look, we have an extra room on the top floor of Kirby Smith dorm, which is no longer around. And it was the last room that we had. And I decided to come to LSU, and really didn't take much advantage of my time. I attempted to wrestle for LSU, and I did probably more drinking with Lincoln than, and that's the nickel specials at the, I forgot the name of the place on Highland Road. Now it's gone too, but
probably the White Horse.
And right next to it, I forget.
Brass Rail?
Yes, Brass Rail.
What was the name of it?
Drinking
White
with
Horse
Lincoln.
and Brass Rail.
See, I've never heard of that. Okay.
It's 5 cents, and all you could drink.
All you can drink beer. Yeah.
It did not do well with my GPA.
That's probably where I met you, actually.
Yes, and back then, your grades and your discipline was open to everyone, and they could call your mom and dad and tell them what you did. Well, my dad, the sergeant major, got a letter saying his son was no longer accepted at LSU because his average was .07 for 2 semesters.
Wow.
And so I had to sit out for a semester. But during that time, 1972, that's when I met Jenny, and I was attempting to wrestle and didn't do that well. And I then decided to play rugby. And again, I'd met Jenny, and Jenny was the hottest ticket on LSU's campus.
That's not even. That's not even.
That doesn't surprise me.
That is absolutely the truth. And of anyone you would talk to of athletes,
and she still is.
She stood out above everyone in that track. But she may say otherwise, but
that is not true at all.
I surely can't call her a liar, but she. Yeah, fortunately
always
meet her.
The ladies, man. Always the ladies, man. Hillar invited me down to Tulane for a rugby tournament, and I'm a huge sports fan, and I mean, those guys, I was telling Hillar before this, I even remember their names. They stood out, Big Red and Ted and Les Bratton and those guys. And Hillar probably doesn't even know this, but somehow or the other, he gave me or they gave me a rugby picture. I honestly kept that for years. I thought I might still have it and actually look for it, but, I mean, why rugby, Hillar? Is it your background, your rough and tough dad? I mean, that's a tough sport.
I just saw it on the program. It looked really fun. And after not doing well in wrestling, not being big enough to play football, that would just seem like the sport to be. And it looked like they had fun and just decided to do that. And then since then, all my brothers and relatives have all played rugby at LSU in Baton Rouge. And so it's become a family thing.
What do they say about rugby? Is Winston Churchill said, you have to help me out. Rugby is a hooligan's game played by gentlemen, and soccer is a gentleman's game played by hooligans.
Yes, something of that nature. But correct.
You beat each other up and you fight, and then you go
drink beer,
share a beer with everybody. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but I paid the price for it now.
Right, I love it. Let's back up to, if you would, growing up in New Orleans. What was it like growing up in New Orleans with 7 brothers and sisters at Brother Martin?
So my dad was in the military, stayed in there for 33 years. We walked to school. School's a long ways away. We walked. I remember tuition was $6 a month, and it was a struggle for them to pay $6 a month with 7 kids. But we walked to school. Where I lived changed real quickly. I lived at the corner right by St. Augustine High School.
Sure.
So we were one of the rare white families in a mainly black neighborhood. And at that time growing up, I had no idea that was different than anywhere else. And everyone was friends. We swam together, played together. No one locked their door. Everyone had screen doors. It was just a different world back then. And then things got different and things changed. Eventually, my dad became the president of a large food warehouse in New Orleans, and we moved to River Ridge. And moving to River Ridge, moved into a house that had air conditioning and a color television. It was like, wow, there's a whole new world out here like I really didn't know existed. And so, and then going to Brother Martin from there. So it changed, but I think me growing up where I grew up and how I grew up really helped me a lot, particularly in the job that I have now.
Yeah, that was my question going to be, does that give you a contextual background to be able to go into some of the black communities that you go in today? Because I've been in there with you on different visits, and you're really well regarded and well liked when you walk into there, which is probably not the case with a lot of district attorneys.
Yeah, I think that you have to have been in fights and won some, lost some, just as you know. But you have to also be in other communities and hear and listen to what they have to say. And I've been able to do that as the DA. I've learned so much from people that I work with. And then those people that of color and of different backgrounds that say, listen to what you just said. Do you understand how we hear this versus how you may have heard this? And that has given me a lot of insight as to what you say, how you say it. And so if you see me on television, I'll try to be as reserved as I can, although I may hate the defendant that we're trying. I'm going to be gentlemanly and just try to take that highest ground that you can, just do your job. And
gentleman rugby player.
Yeah.
Right.
I learned a whole lot, and it's an invaluable experience.
Okay. Well, yesterday I was running. Bo Clark was out. The coroner, Bo Clark, was out with his dog running. Yeah, he's great. He's out there all the time. But, I've said this to him, and this was a question I wanted for you, and it just reminded me. I've often thought, how do you and him get a good night's sleep when you know that any minute the phone might ring and probably will ring and something else has happened in Baton Rouge? That seems like a really stressful life.
Yeah. So, really good question. When I made it back to Baton Rouge to go to LSU, at the same time, my dad and my entire family moved to Baton Rouge. Oh, wow. So I came here to get away from the sergeant major and grow long hair. And then all of a sudden he gets the job at Associated Grocers. And so
Right.
I'm living at home right down the street from LSU. We lived right off of Highland Road.
Yeah.
And I was a young DA investigator while going to school at the time. And my dad was a camera buff, so he taught me how to take pictures. And immediately becoming a DA investigator, O.C. Brown, who was the DA then, made me the chief crime scene investigator at probably 20, 21 years old, because the former photographer left. And we would be called to every murder scene as the DA to take pictures of bodies, and then from there follow up and go to an autopsy. And I remember being at home, getting my first call, scared to death as a young man, to a murder scene, and having the older police officers know that I'm young, come to the scene and make you do things like you have to step over the body versus going around. And you could feel and see the tension, the defendant's side and the victim's side. They obviously knew each other, a lot of blood. And I remember coming home after that scene, and my mom said, "What in the heck happened to you?" And like, she obviously could see it in my face. It was difficult at the time. However, because of so many of these, I've done this now. I'm 71 almost, and I've been doing it since 20, and so it's a long time. A lot of dead bodies that you've seen, a lot of crime scenes. You have to learn how to develop a switch, and so that switch is you have to turn it on and off, and that part of the job has to be a job. And if you don't do it correctly, and you have a different mindset, you're worried about it, and it's going to make you sad, then you're not going to be really good at your job. So I was able to develop that switch. You turn it on and turn it off. And so it's the same thing now, going home. You know, when it's time to go to sleep, like, you have to go to sleep, although the phone rings throughout the entire night with phone calls and texts. You learn how to manage that, and it's just a matter of time of learning that.
And you love your job. I know I was one of the people that was saying, "Hillar, you got to run for mayor." Back, years, me and many people. And, you told me, Jenny, thank you for, thinking of me that way, but I love my job.
Yeah, I still love it to this day. It's a much more challenging job now in the times, particularly with the economic problems that we have. But the best thing is working with these young kids that are officers, men and women, who lay their lives on the line. Yeah, unfortunately, like yesterday, having to bury another one from across the river. When you know these young folks that are heroic kind of people, you want to do this job.
Yeah. I don't mean to jump in again, but I know this is something Michael and I talked about yesterday, and I wanted to get into that. And then, Michael was going to lead us into more of a positive direction. But the tax in the spring, the property tax that was to fund the DA's office, that it was going to only cost $80 a year for a $200,000 home, the $4 million. Anyway, I remember talking to people saying, "Oh my gosh, that's a slam dunk. Everybody loves Hillar. Right. It's the DA. It's fighting crimes. It's a real slam dunk." And I probably got slapped across the face, not nearly as hard as you, but I was so surprised to see that come in 60-40. That had to break your heart for your staff and the city.
It did. So our staff has not ever raised in 4 years, and so the morale there is tough, and they're dealing with the worst of the worst situations, and they deal with victims at the worst part of their lives, and so they're really down. We're shorthanded, and we really thought the people would be behind the DA's office because of the work that they've done, even shorthanded. So we worked very hard. We raised $400,000 to promote it, did all the television we could, had hundreds of signs out. And then right before that tax election, there was the debate going on about taking money from the library and taking money from BREC and then moving it. And there's some angst that was developed there.
And probably
like,
confusion, a little confusion there.
You have all of that money in reserve, and why don't you just switch it over to the DA's office and make them whole? Well, it takes a vote to do that. And then the governor had his 3 propositions that failed 70-30, and mine came right behind that. And so, the timing was not the best. It turned out to be. We thought it was going to be really good timing, and when it failed, it's tough. So now we lost 25 lawyers in 16 months, and when you lose lawyers that are the caliber that I have, that are been there for a long time, it's tough.
I feel like that's a message to the voters of Baton Rouge. I don't know if you do. That breaks my heart.
And now we have the Thrive tax. And so if the Thrive tax passes, then we will get a little bit of that money, hopefully, to survive.
How much is a little bit?
Maybe $2 million.
As
But
opposed
the tax-
to $24 million?
Correct. The tax was going to give us $24 million. Our budget right now is around 16. And Baton Rouge is the biggest parish in the state. And you saw recently we have the most cases of any other parish. And we have 55 assistant DAs compared to Jefferson that has 75 and compared to Orleans, which has 88. And we have the majority of the cases. We have the highest number of murders. Jefferson has 18 murders and 75 ADAs. And we last year was 102, year before 112, year before 128, year before 150. And then we had COVID. Everything got stacked up. And murders are taking 3 to 5 years to get to trial. That's not good for a trial, for a case. It's not good for the victim. And the money that we were getting from the city parish, we had asked the mayor and the city council, give it to the public defender. Because you don't want to have a DA's office that's outsized compared to a public defender. They have a job to do. They represent a large portion of the defendants. Their office is not as large as ours and shouldn't be because of the requirements that we have. But this would even help them, and that was my goal, is that this would be something that everyone can vote for, but it just didn't happen.
Could you, I mean, we'll have listeners listening, and although $2 million's a lot,
it's a
big difference than $24 million, but could you explain to me and our listeners about the Thrive tax, and maybe we could understand it, because I really don't.
The
do you know
Thrive
about
tax
it?
is really,
I've seen it, but I don't.
It's really just a renewal of 3 existing taxes.
Okay.
But what it would do is it would take some of the reserved monies and slide it over to allow the city parish to use it for certain things, some infrastructure, and then also the district attorney, the public defender, as the mayor and the city council see fit. So it is just a renewal of their taxes for the most part, and that money will slide over. Some of the reserve money will slide over and be used for in different means. And so that would mean a lot to us right now. I think we'll probably end the year with a balance of maybe 50,000, and compared to Jefferson Parish, their balance now will be $20 million in surplus that they have. So they're well funded, a different parish than we are. So, and I also believe that the governor and the legislature are going to help us with additional warrants for assistant district attorneys, and they're going to look at shifting funds because, again, Orleans and Jefferson get a bulk of the money, and nothing's changed since the Katrina population change. And we've just always done the same thing the same way the last 20 years, and it's just not fair. It's not working out. And Baton Rouge is the capital. I mean, we should be recognized as that, and I think the governor recognizes that and is going to help us in that regard.
Well, this is my cue. Michael brought me in as the color commentary, on everything. And so with all the stresses you have both on the street and in your office, which to me are mounting up as we're sitting here, I think you're well known as a gardener. Everybody in Plantation Trace says that you give to everybody. And look, I brought you, this was my gift to you. Thank you for coming on. It's a hybrid lemon that I grew, and it's pink on the inside. So this is my thank you for coming on.
Wow.
No,
So
cool.
tell us.
So now you're going to make me go buy one of these plants and
You will love it.
try to
cut
do
it
this.
Cut it up and see the pink inside when you get home. But tell us, I think peppers are your thing, and I love peppers.
Yeah.
Is that your de-stressor, putting your hands in the dirt, or
Yeah,
it's just
plants don't talk back. They die. They die, but they come back again. So it's
and aphids are your biggest enemy?
yeah, aphids and whiteflies are just
I know, they're
killer.
killing me.
Squirrels, I hate. They eat on tiny plants. And,
Aw.
you need a tiny plant to get to a big plant, and so and I can't be shooting squirrels in my backyard. So try
Is
to
that
find.
how you de-stress?
Yeah, it's a full-time job from Friday to Sunday. I have 3,000 plants.
No.
I mean, it's a
No
lot of
kidding.
It's a lot of plants, a lot of peppers.
Do you have additional acreage that you bought next to your
No,
house?
I've taken over my brother who lives next door, my neighbor who lives on the other side. So I've taken over everyone's kind of yard and said, "Hey, do you mind?" And I cut their grass, so it's we make up for it.
Oh, wow.
But it's different cycles, different seasons. Like I'm just starting the winter garden with broccoli, cauliflower, kale, lettuce, Chinese cabbage. But I have a large comparisons of peppers, and I use that to make hot sauce. So
No kidding.
I have different brands of hot sauce, and it's all has
Can I
the
get
word
on your
justice.
list? Michael
Sure.
and I would
I love it.
like that. We're
Hot-
both grillers.
red hot justice, swamp lady justice.
You should have brought some
and this year
bottle.
will be re-election justice.
Oh, no.
Perfect.
So, but
That's
yeah,
hilarious.
peppers are really blooming right now because the weather change.
Yeah.
It's really good for them right now. They like heat, but it is full-time work in the sun, and getting up. And I'm on a hill, and I'm walking up and down a whole lot, so I
Keeps
get
you
my
young.
exercise.
How did you get into it?
I coached baseball with some other friends for 25 years with my own children, and then others. And then having become DA, it was hard to do that. And so I needed to do something else. And my wife's a public defender, so we don't talk very often. We just choose to go on our own ways.
There you
But
go.
I said, I need something to get out the house. And baseball was my avenue. And then I said, let's just start digging up some things. And I think at that point also I was trying to eat less meat and eat more healthy. And I read a book, How Not to Die, which is all about just eating without meat. And so I started growing the plants that I started to eat. And that's how I got to where it is.
Well, speaking of baseball,
Oh.
we often see you behind home plate. Every time I watch a game, I see you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so fortunate those seats belong to LSU. And I think for the regional games, they're reserved for scouts. And normally scouts do not take those tickets because they're right down low. And I guess you can't see the end of the pitch. And they like to be a little bit higher. So whenever they're available, I'll ask, and can I buy those tickets? And I'll get those. And you have to be real careful of what you do behind the plate.
That's what we were just talking about.
I
So
know.
your phone rings from all over the nation. Hey, where was that ball? I said, well, it was not good, but I'm not going to show emotion until after I know the camera's off, and I'll tell umpire what I really think.
I love it.
But I love baseball. It's a great game, and I think we have the best coach in the
No
world.
doubt about it.
And Jay Johnson. And we have some really good coaches right now. We have some really great LSU athletic teams right now.
No doubt.
Gymnastics is going to be just fantastic again this year. Baseball, so it's fun. It's fun going to the games.
That's great. What else do you like to do? So we got gardening, baseball.
Well, I like to work out as much as I can, but that going to work at 5 in the morning gets in the way of the gym. So I need to find a routine to get back into it. But I like working out, running, treadmill, bike, lifting weights. It's really good for you.
Yeah.
But it just depends on what happens the night before.
Yeah.
So reading, I read a lot of books,
Yeah.
mainly on the job that I do.
Yeah.
So it's I stay pretty busy.
Did you ever imagine yourself being the district
Yeah.
attorney?
And I imagine myself maybe being in jail and not being the district attorney, but no, I never did until I got the job as a DA investigator, and I looked at the district attorney, and everyone looked up to him like, man, you're the most powerful person in Baton Rouge, maybe in the state, because you're the DA of Baton Rouge with the state capital. And I've seen different DAs use the extreme power that they have in different ways, some good, some not as good. And so I got to see really O.C. Brown, Brian Bush, Cheney Joseph for interim, Doug Morrow for a long time. And I got to see all of their different styles, and I tried to take the best I could from all of those gentlemen and learn and try to be you can use this when you have to use this. And so we have to use this sometimes. As you can imagine, you see the news. Use this when you can. Or take this approach where it's kind of in the middle. You have to use all three of those. It just depends. You have to take chances a lot on people. And that's what the scary part of the job is, that I may take a chance on a person that has a gun charge, that's a young kid, and that kid may come back later and kill someone. And then you look like an idiot for giving a kid a chance who you thought, and he proved himself that he was going to do well, but got on the wayside and didn't work out. And then you risk not taking chances on people, then you put them down and put them in a position where they can't get out of. Because once you get into this system, it's hard to get out. You can, but it's hard to get out. And so that's the toughest part of the job is making those decisions and trying to explain yourself when you do it, and then when bad things happen afterwards. It's hard to do that very quickly on television or even in a newspaper article. It's hard to do
Sure.
that until you really sit in the seat and feel a pain. It's tough.
You mentioned growing up in a big Catholic family. Where does that, your faith, help you? I mean, I'm sure it's very important to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like the rock, and you just always go look back and know there's someone up above that's taking care of you, and people that have come before you, hopefully are guiding you throughout what I do. I know I always think about my dad and him, and it helps.
That's great. For our listeners, other than voting, obviously, for the Thrive Tax and your reelection coming up, which we'd love to talk about, Jenny and I have talked extensively. We're neighbors, and so we'll go have a glass of wine together at least once a week and just talk about Baton Rouge or what we need to do. And Jenny is an activist. She fights for what she believes in, whether it's the golf course or the underpass or in her neighborhood where varsity sports is located, and everything to do with running. For myself, I didn't know what I was going to do. I started this podcast because I was kind of tired of hearing negativity, and so that's why I did it. And I've met some incredible people like you and a bunch of nonprofits who I know, LeVar Robinson of Foam.
Yeah, great guy.
Great guy. I knew you'd love him. Will Campbell of B1 Foundation.
Oh, yeah.
We have so many. On a positive note, what can people like us do to help other than vote? How do we get better and keep on pushing? And then, if you would, it's a two-part question. Those LeVar Robinsons, those Will Campbells, those guys out there and women that are making a difference in our young people, could you touch on that and how they're helping you as well?
Yeah, first, I never want to be on the other side of Jenny.
No doubt about it.
Or Mary Stein with the library board. Neither one of those two powerful women.
That's right.
So, really, your vote really matters a lot.
Okay.
And the people that run, you have to hold people accountable that they really want the job, to do the job, and not just for the name of the job or sake of having the job. And I think we have to hold those folks accountable to do the job. And, it starts with, it's not the governor, not the senator's representative. It starts with school boards and city council. I mean, that's the tough jobs that people have, get paid very little. I think that one of the reasons that Baton Rouge has suffered so much is that the lack of quality public education. I think we've missed a lot of things along the way. And we've just had a big study with Baton Rouge Area Foundation and the Chamber, which found that most of the children that come and get in trouble with me, it was a study where we looked at 22,000 people that came through my office as a defendant over a 12-year period of time. And it turned out that the overwhelming number did not have access to preschool help, from childbirth on to first grade. They showed up at first grade. And that was a big telltale sign of someone's future. Mm-hmm. And now if we can start that early childhood education, which I think we're moving in that direction now, and to get that mother at the date of birth, and that we're going to make sure we're going to stay with you and with your child. We're going to give you transportation. Your child will have early childhood education. So on the first day of kindergarten or first grade, you're not 4 years behind. You know the vowels, you know how to read, you know how to write. Then because these kids get caught and they get behind and never catch up, the study has showed that if you take kids who are in a really high-performing school and put them in a lower-performing school, they're going to perform very low. You take one in a low-performing school, put him in a higher one, he's going to move up. The study was phenomenal, and for me, it was a game changer and an eye-opener. And that's going to, if we do this change, it may take a decade or two to change the future of Baton Rouge. I think just based on that, you'll see an extreme decline in the number of murders in Baton Rouge, because the people that we are seeing have dropped out sixth grade, have no education, no future, no hope. But on the good side, we have people like LeVar, Foam, Fathers on a Mission. We have so many other nonprofits that are out there that are just doing the work, and they're not doing it for the money. I mean, look how LeVar had a job that he went to, and he also did this on the side.
Right.
And eventually now he can operate on his own without having to have a separate job. There are many, many people like him Leroy Hollins, who I don't know if you know Leroy, is a big man, works with so many kids with football teams. And I was out there this weekend with him and Pat Green when they had so many of these young kids and then female cheerleaders. Without those types of people that give their all and for nothing, Baton Rouge would be a much worse place. And Baton Rouge, I think, is a good. I mean, I don't want to go anywhere. I know that we see a lot of kids that are leaving. We have to find a way to stop that and show the good things. Like Julio is the best at showing the good parts of Baton Rouge. Right. Ralph McAllister. Go to any one of those business report meetings, and you leave there, you're on cloud nine because people don't really know how really good and what type of good things Baton Rouge is doing.
That's right.
And this really is a good place. We don't promote it enough because the bad things get in the way, and I think smother all of the good stuff that's going on. And even me as the DA, seeing the part that I see, I overwhelmingly see how good Baton Rouge is, how many good people we have here. And I don't want to go back to New Orleans for sure. I don't want to go to any other city. I want to stay in Baton Rouge, but I want it to be safest as it can be, and be promoted like we should be promoting, and not focusing on the negative things. Every city has negative problems, but the Baton Rouge, I've traveled around the country, we get along here a lot better than any other place with regard to people that are elected or have offices. Other places, they hate each other, the sheriff and the DA and the U.S. attorney, the mayor. Here we have differences, but we get along. It's always been that. And so that's one really good thing that Baton Rouge has.
I'm so glad you said that. I've had a lot of people sit on that couch and say the exact same thing, that they go around to other places or they've moved away. And I had a guy recently, Steve Mellor, who's from Britain, and he lost his green card and he had to move back, and he had lived all around the country, and he said the one place he wanted to come back to was Baton Rouge over Charlotte, North Carolina, and the Carolinas. He wanted to be back in Baton Rouge, and so we have something really special here. And I think the more that we talk about it, and the more Jenny Peters are out there fighting for it, and what you do is just so important to us.
Yeah, we love it.
We love it. We've got to keep on keeping on. Thank you so much. So we always end my podcast, and then Jenny will show you her little hook at the end. Hillar Moore, what does it feel like to be a Baton Rougean? You kind of just said it, but I'd love for you to
feel proud, feel like I'm part of a really big family. Wherever you go, particularly with me, being old and have white hair now, and being on television for so much, people know you, and they go out of their way. I don't care where you are, what community you're in, they go out of their way to say hello.
Thank you.
How's it going? Thank you. Yeah. And that's really, really rewarding when you go in the communities that are the hardest hit. And even in those communities that are the hardest hit, look, 98% of those people want what everyone else that lives in a country club or name a different place to live that is historically doesn't have problems. They want exactly the same thing.
Absolutely.
They run out of their doors to pray with you, hold your hand, say thank you. When are you coming back? Is what they want to know, and they just want to be safe and left alone. And so, I mean, that's to me is the good part of Baton Rouge, that people don't know that. They may think it's on the other side of tracks, other side of Florida Boulevard. Well, you ought to go there,
right? Because
then when you talk to them, they want just same thing that you want.
Amen.
I love that. Well, I guess it's time for running shorts. Hillar, what I do at the end of my podcast is do running shorts, kind of life lessons on the run, the various crazy things I've learned. This is a little bit different because it's not totally about me, but it's still a good story. Years ago, many years ago, I was traveling the Houston Tenneco Marathon with my friends Jane Swift and Barry Bro. It was going to be Jane's first marathon. So the plans were that we would go, and I was going to run the first 20 miles fast as a training run and go back and get them and, run her in, which is always fun. To finish a marathon is incredible. So I go back to 20 miles, and I see her on the curb crying her eyes out, and Barry looking totally helpless. What are we going to do? She's got 6 miles to go. So I said, anyway, she says, these shoes are heavy. I feel horrible. I can't go on. I'm just, I'm going to sit here and cry. And so, I said, okay, look, I'm going to trade shoes with you. I've got light racing flats on. I've got a power bar. I don't know if you remember a power bar. That was the energy supplement back then that you wrapped around your hand. Take this power bar and let's see how far we go. So she does all that, and the end of the tale is great. Her last 6 miles were by far her fastest miles. She was going
Really?
7:40, 7:30, 7:20. And so I think the life lesson there is everybody's going to go through bad patches. You know, if metaphorically you put on a new pair of shoes and, you know, bring some sweet into your life, maybe the best of times are ahead because, you know, she finished her marathon. So.
Well, that's the attitude I try to have, and that I know things are tough, but I think there's a bright future, and I'm looking forward to that for Baton Rouge. That's my hope.
Perfect. If they put on their shoes and put a little sweet in their life, and we're ready to go.
Yep.
Well, I know for all you listeners out there, great times are ahead for us, and so we just got to keep on being positive, talk about the good things, and support people like this man right here, Hillar Moore, who is up for re-election soon. Vote on that Thrive tax. We need it, he needs it, and let's keep on pushing forward. So I'm Michael Hackett with Alligator Shoes.
Jenny Peters with It Runs Deep.
Thank you all for listening and watching, and we will see you again shortly. Bye-bye.